This story starts behind a school, with a group of bullies all sitting down and discussing how webtoons these days are really boring. They debate about how they're always got some loser getting stronger, and about school violence. The bullies then joke around about how school violence doesn't happen anymore and is a thing of the past. One bully adds that it's because the authors are old and think school bullies are still around everywhere these days. Looks like he was right. As they were laughing, one of the bullies snapped out of it and asked our protagonist, Sooyeon Kim, if he was keeping watch properly. Sooyeon gets frustrated, but quickly puts a smile on his face and responds, saying, "Of course." He then reflects on the situation and thinks to himself, how is this not bullying? But then suddenly out of nowhere, one bully puts Sooyeon in a headlock and the bully shouts, "End school violence." Our boy yells for the bully to stop and tries to struggle, but he is quickly tossed on the ground as the bullies then decide to leave, saying, I guess it's not ending, as one of the other bullies replies with, "Nope." Sooyeon then lies on the ground as he starts to think about where his life went wrong and why he should have to live like this. He says he can try yelling out the tired old slogan, "End school violence," as much as he likes, but no one ever shows up to do anything about it. Sooyeon then thinks about how webtoons and web novels are always about getting quests, receiving rewards, and growing stronger like characters do in video games. Is that my boy, Yoo Jung-hyuk? He thinks to himself about how he wishes he could do that too. Sooyeon mutters the words, "quest window" to himself, but then starts to shout, "quest window" over several times. He gets up and sits down by the wall as he then realizes how crazy he sounds as he soon says, "That will never happen. This isn't a web novel. There's no way something like that will appear out of nowhere." I beg to differ, buddy. Suddenly, a bright blue flash lights up Sooyeon's face, which surprises him. A blue status window pops up which reads, "Quest window activated." Shocked, he yells, "What the heck is this?" As the quest window flashes again and now reads, "Would you like to begin the quest?" Sometime later, we are transported back to the classroom where Sooyeon mentions that there are two kinds of people in this world, the popular kids and the loners. He explains that if you're outgoing and active, you're a popular kid, and if you're shy and introverted, you're a loner. He says that he thinks that the terms popular kid and loner are just replacements for bullies and losers. Sooyeon says that's a change he feels grateful for, and that he would rather be referred to as a loner and not a loser. But all that is about to change for our boy. Sooyeon summons his quest window and is reluctant to believe that this is all real, so he spends a small portion of his time opening and closing the status window until he is 100% sure that this is real. Sooyeon ponders on the idea of pressing yes and beginning the quest and what it would even mean. But as soon as Sooyeon decides to push the button to begin the quest, a girl abruptly steps in the way, and Sooyeon ends up poking her stomach. Shocked, Sooyeon immediately looks up to notice that this is his classmate Charon Baek, who looks down on Sooyeon with a disgusted look, saying, "This is sexual harassment. Gigi's my goat is cooked." Sooyeon nervously tries to play it off, but Charon quickly cuts him off, calling him a creepy little nerd and slaps him across the face. She couldn't have got that slap off me. Charon then asks Sooyeon, who is still in pain, to go to the school snack shop for her because she is craving a sandwich. Sooyeon then asks her why she couldn't go get it herself. Then, she angrily goes off to brag about how good her legs look, and how those legs got her 200,000 Instagram followers, and how it would be a shame if she were to trip on her way to the snack shop, which she then asks Sooyeon, would he take the responsibility for her injuries? Sooyeon quickly realizes that there is no point in trying to argue with her, and decides to just go. As he is leaving, he asks her for the money which Charon tells him to pay for himself. Excuse me? Sooyeon leaves the classroom and reflects on how he doesn't stand up for himself and how he doesn't speak up against injustices. But interrupting that thought is one of the bullies from earlier, and he then proceeds to clothesline Sooyeon, knocking him to the floor. "Hulk Hogan, is that you?" As Sooyeon weakly tries to get up off the floor, he monologues about how he vows to expose all the bullies after they've become successful in life and looks up at the bully with a livid expression. But as he does so, the bully looks back at Sooyeon with a blank and stale look, which then makes Sooyeon say sorry and apologize and the bullies leave. We fast forward to the evening, and Sooyeon is yelling at his mom about how he wants to drop out of school because he isn't learning anything, and says how he would much rather be a new tuber. His mother swiftly dismisses the idea. Sooyeon fires back and explains that school is a waste of time, and that even if he did get into a college, he would just get some mediocre white-collar job, which his mother also fires back and says she has a knife in her hand, and that if he doesn't quiet down, she might do something she will regret. You better shut up, Sooyeon. Sooyeon is still adamant about the idea, but then his sister Da-yeon jumps in and jokingly says, "What do you think this is, viral hit?" Sooyeon immediately tells her to shut up, which she then tells him to make her. Sooyeon then angrily runs off into his room and slams the door. Lying in bed now, he asks himself, "Why am I like this?" Sooyeon then gets up and decides to pull up the quest window and test it out to his heart's content. The system then states that every time he completes a quest, he will be rewarded with a card. He ponders on this thought, but the system starts generating a tutorial quest that tells him to apologize to his mom with the reward of 1 gold card. Sooyeon quickly jumps up and is surprised that apologizing to his mom is a quest, and also gets excited at the idea of getting a gold card and immediately thinks of selling it. The system also explains the ascending order of the cards, which is bronze, silver, and gold. Sooyeon dismisses this and just wants to know if he can sell the gold card or not. Doesn't he know to read the fine print? He then hurries out of his room, calls out to his mom, startling her in the process, and tells her that he's sorry for yelling at her earlier. The system notification pops up and states that the tutorial quest has been completed and that he has been awarded a gold card. Sooyeon then returns to his room and imagines how much the gold card could be worth. Saying the words, "claim card," his room begins to glow. The gold card appears and states that using this card will allow him to grow 1.2 inches taller. Sooyeon activates the card, runs out of his room, and calls out to his mom, startling her again, and states that he grew taller and that he is over 5'6" now. He's going to give her a heart attack. His mom also apologizes to him and then calls him to sit down for dinner. And while eating, Sooyeon realizes that he is always apologizing at school, but this is his first time ever apologizing to his mom. The next day arrives, and Sooyeon is walking through the halls with a big smile on his face. As he walks past, 2 of his female classmates notices that Sooyeon is taller. One girl says that he probably just has lifts in his shoes, but the other female classmate corrects her and says, "No, he doesn't. He's wearing slippers." Hearing this, Sooyeon now has an even bigger grin on his face as he continues to walk down the hallway. As he is doing so, a new tutorial quest starts generating, and he begins to get excited. It states that the reward for completing this quest will be a gold and silver card. Sooyeon gets really excited now, even monologuing about how the system is being too generous, considering how easy the quests are. He's clueless. Suddenly, Sooyeon bumps into his classmate Charon. Simultaneously, the quest is now finished generating, and the new quest is to kiss his classmate Charon Baek. Welpo 7. Charon looks at him with a displeased face and tells him to watch where he's going. Shocked, Sooyeon stood there frozen and failed to respond to Charon, who then asked him if he has a death wish. "Well, nice knowing you, Sooyeon. You will be missed." The chapter starts with Sooyeon in disbelief about how the second quest is to kiss his bully, Charon Baek. While pondering the situation, Charon questions him about his intentions, suggesting that he may have a death wish and threatens to physically harm him. Sooyeon instinctively defends himself, believing that kissing her is an impossible feat. But suddenly, Charon stops and shares the rumor she heard regarding Guy's interest in being hit by her. Following that, she decides to walk away, assuring that she won't hit him, and refers to him as a creep. Sooyeon monologues about how this is an impossible quest. He shouts out, "Abandon quest," as he decides to give up on the quest and get a new one. Without any warning, a window pops up, surprising Soohyun and causing him to question, "What is this?" Subsequently, another system window informs Soohyun that abandoning a quest will result in forfeiting all rewards and never seeing quest windows again. The quest window then asks Soohyun if he would still like to abandon the quest. Soohyun angrily yells out, expressing his dissatisfaction with the unfairness of the situation, which also annoys and startles his other classmates, making them say, "Stop blocking the hallway," and "What the hell is wrong with you?" Another pair of girls look confused as they are trying to figure out what he's doing while also calling him a creep and disgusting. Soohyun then starts to realize that if he gives up on this quest, he will shrink back down to 5'5" and also never get another quest ever again. After thinking about it for a couple of seconds, he decides to strengthen his resolve and at least try to complete the quest. That's right, Soohyun. Show them who's boss.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on.
We then fast forward to our boy mumbling in the classroom about how kissing her is going to be impossible. I gained so much faith in him and lost it in an instant. He begins to monologue how even trying would be near impossible, and fears that even trying to ask her out might get him slapped to death. He even goes as far as thinking about trying to kiss her by force, saying, "There's no way I could do that." Unexpectedly, someone interrupts him while he is mumbling the words "a kiss" to himself and asks him if he wants a kiss. Shocked, Soohyun excitedly jumps up saying, "Really?" as he also spins his head to see who said that. Is this finally it? Has the goddess of luck answered our prayers? Soohyun looks over, and it's his best friend Kuja, and he says, "If you don't mind kissing me." Startled, Soohyun jumps back as he notices his friend suddenly beside him, which frightens him. Out of the blue, Soohyun exclaims, "Whoa!" and then asks Kuja what happened to his face as he answers by saying he got beat up by the bullies. Soohyun comments that it's comical to witness him being defeated since he gives off the impression of being a formidable fighter. Scratch a good fighter, he looks like he's 30 years old. Kuja also adds that he also thought he would be a good fighter. Kuja then asks him why he was muttering about a kiss and furthermore right next to him. He is hesitant at first, but he slowly asks him, what would you do if someone gave him a mission that he had to complete, and it was to kiss a girl, and what he would do in that situation. Kuja thinks about it for a little bit and says, if you ask the girl really nicely, she might let you. I hate to break this to you. 99% of girls would not let that slide, and you would probably end up behind bars. Kuja begins to add on that there was that free hugs campaign, but he can do it with only kisses. But before he's done, Soohyun cuts him off and says, that would never work. Not for guys like us. Kuja then comes up with the idea of offering the girl money in exchange. Soohyun jumps up at this idea and calls Kuja a genius and says, a kiss is basically just two people's lips touching, right? Wrong, oh so very wrong. He also says that everyone likes money and all he has to do is pay the girl. My guy is Kazuya reincarnated. Soohyun then eagerly asks Kuja how much money he has and asks if he could lend him some. Kuja lets out a short laugh saying, ha, I've got you covered, and pulls his wallet out from his back pocket and hands it to Soohyun. Soohyun then reaches for the money, but at the last second he quickly pulls back and says how he can't believe that they thought that was a good idea. Kuja then apologizes and says that it was a stupid thing to suggest. Soohyun also adds that they were both in the wrong for entertaining the notion. As Kuja is putting his wallet back into his back pocket, he brings up to Soohyun that wouldn't he need to be alone with a girl to kiss her in the first place? Soohyun ponders on this thought, saying that he's right, and that there's no way for him to be alone with Charon. But he abruptly stops himself as he realizes that it's possible during gym class, because Charon always says that she's sick to avoid going to gym class. Later, we are transported into the class where Charon is sleeping as she soon starts to wake up. She rubs her head as she notices that Soohyun is still in the classroom. She then asks him why he isn't in gym class. He nervously responds and says that he isn't feeling well, which Charon calls him out for lying and says, you were watching me sleep, weren't you? Sooyeon shouts out that he wasn't and starts to get flustered as Charon keeps teasing him as she says that she's going to tell everyone and calls him a little creep. Even more flustered now, he yells even louder that he wasn't watching her sleep, and she quickly interrupts him saying she's only kidding and calls him a lame ass. She then asks Sooyeon if he's busy and tells him to get her a carton of strawberry milk, and before she can finish her sentence, he cuts her off and says that he already got one for her. Confused, Charon says, "What?" And Sooyeon says again that he already bought her strawberry milk. Charon now looks down at her desk and finally sees the milk carton. Our boy begins to ponder whether this would be the first step to dating Charon since kissing only happens between two people in a relationship. She then compliments him saying, "What a good little minion you are." Sooyeon then thinks about the likelihood of her secretly having feelings for him, which he says is obviously zero. I don't know about zero, Sooyeon, maybe just a little bit. He decides that he can't waste any more time thinking this over, and if he doesn't try something now, he won't be able to complete the quest. He then runs over to Karen and snatches the milk carton from her hands, startling her in the process as she yells out, "WTF!" and shouts at him, "What the hell are you doing?" Soohyun starts to drink some of the milk from the carton, slams it down on the desk, and loudly asks her if she has ever kissed anyone. Bro, just look at her face, LOL. She responds by asking the question again and says, "Hey, Sooyeon, if you don't cut the crap, the only thing you'll be kissing is the floor of a jail cell." He nervously tries to play it off, saying it was only a joke and he was just curious. Out of the blue, someone calls out to Sooyeon with a phone in their hand, and we see that it's the bullies from yesterday. And one of the bullies asks Sooyeon if he wants them to kiss him. Sooyeon now has a blank expression on his face as the bullies all burst out laughing. One of the bullies puts his arm around Sooyeon, asking him if he likes Charon, and then calls out to everyone and says that Sooyeon has a crush on Charon. Charon now has a puzzled look on her face as she asks Sooyeon if he gets off on being embarrassed. Sooyeon replies and says, "No, that's not it," and shouts at the bully asking him why did he record that and to delete the video. The bully then jokingly says, "But it's so funny." Sooyeon then shouts even louder, telling the bully to delete it, which makes the bully punch him in the face and knocks him to the floor and then calls him a little bitch. The bully then says that it was only a joke, and that what Sooyeon said to Charon was also a joke, right? He then asks Sooyeon if he isn't allowed to also make jokes, and asks him if he doesn't want to joke around with them. He then proceeds to slap Sooyeon across the face and says they only want to be friends with him. He keeps slapping him, repeating slowly with every slap that he wants to be friends with him, and starts winding back his hand for another slap, telling Sooyeon to answer him. Suddenly, Charon comes from behind him and grabs his hand to stop him, telling him to cut it out and says that she's sure Sooyeon got the message. The bully looks up confused, and she also tells him to delete that video. The bully eagerly gets up and says, "Of course, Charon's word is law," and then says he will now step out for a smoke. The bullies then leave, and as they are walking, the main bully says that he never recorded anything in the first place, and he would never do something like that to Charon. Charon then turns her focus to Sooyeon, lying on the floor with his broken glasses, and tells him to go home early. And if he stays at school, the bullies will just beat him all day. We fast forward to the afternoon where we see Sooyeon curled up on his bed crying about failing the quest. He is now feeling sorry for himself, even saying that he just got beat up and only ended up coming home early. And why did he even bother trying? And if he had just given up, at least he wouldn't have gotten beaten up. He also begins to worry about what's going to happen at school from now on, and how he is going to explain his broken glasses to his mom, and how since he failed the quest, he will now shrink back to 5'5". He then lays down in his bed and thinks about how everything is so blurry without his glasses. But out of nowhere, a quest window pops up reading, "Quest complete. I guess the goddess of luck finally heard our prayers." We are then transported back into the school's classroom where Sharon is sitting down as she reaches for her strawberry milk, saying that she forgot about it. She begins to ask herself why Sooyeon was asking about a kiss in the first place and says, "No, she's never done it, so what?" She then starts to drink the milk, but quickly realizes that this is the same straw that Sooyeon used. We are then transported back to Sooyeon's room again, where another quest window says that he received the rewards for the quest. Sooyeon jumps up in disbelief as he tries to figure out what's happening. The quest window flashes again, and it now says that he has received a gold card and a silver card. He stutters on his words, but manages to say the phrase claim card, and the system then gives him the 2 cards. Sooyeon thinks back to yesterday about how the first gold card made him taller and wonders what these cards will do. Sooyeon reveals the cards and mutters, "This is amazing. Wait, that's it? There has to be more, right?" Guess you guys will have to tune in next week for Chapter 3. Also, make sure to like and subscribe for future content. And also comment down below about which series you want me to cover next. And be sure to give feedback on what you guys would want in these videos. Be sure to also check out my Ko-fi in the description below if you want to support me and the channel. That's all, guys. See you all next week.